Our story begins in England in the early 1980s, where an aspiring entrepreneur has set out on a goal to create a product that would revolutionize household cleaning. The goal itself sounded simple enough: build a useful product and bring it to the market. But the path to success was anything but simple. It would take our budding entrepreneur more than 5 years and over 5,000 failed attempts before he would finally create the winning prototype. It'd be nice to think that were the end of the story. But no. When he presented his creation to local manufacturers and distributors, they all turned him down. Undeterred, however, he took his revolutionary product overseas, all the way to Japan, where it won the 1991 International Design Fair Prize. He set up his own manufacturing company, and today it is the UK's biggest investor in robotics and AI research. His products are now in households all over the world. There's probably even one in your house right now as we speak. That entrepreneur's name? Sir James Dyson, of the famous Dyson vacuum cleaners. So, how did he manage to overcome such seemingly insurmountable odds? Perhaps the answer lies in 2 words: motivational strategies.
This is Build Your Difference, a podcast created by Blue Artists, a brand platform with one goal: to help great visionaries like you build impressive brands. Every month, we'll bring you insightful tips, knowledge, and compelling stories from successful entrepreneurs and the Blue Artists team on how to create and market a winning brand that does more than just launch a new product or service. It starts an ongoing conversation. Because you're not just making a brand, you're making a difference. Let's start building.
Hi everyone, I'm John Marble, here with another episode of Build Your Difference. This month, we're talking about motivation. In 2013, an article was published to the site successgroove.com entitled 6 Ways to Increase Your Self-Motivation. The article was written by Matthew Bass, founder of successgroove.com and an expert coach, entrepreneur, and internet marketer who equips businesses and entrepreneurs with the tactics and strategies needed to be successful. A link to the full article can be found in the show notes or in the video description. In it, Matt lays out the case for 6 motivational strategies you can start using today to increase your chances of success.
What I find is that people have a particular goal in mind, and that goal might be to create a specific asset, but they haven't expanded. They haven't sort of flown high enough into the sky to look down on that particular goal and see where it fits in relation to other goals that might be necessary in order for them to achieve their big pictures.
That's Pierre Walters, CEO of Blue Artists and an award-winning author, actor, and filmmaker. I spoke at length with him about his struggles with motivation, his thoughts on Matt's 6 strategies, and how Blue Artists put these strategies into action for its clients. All right, so the article is 6 Ways to Increase Your Self-Motivation. It's written by Matthew Bass. You know, it's just advice that is timely and valid no matter what time you're living in. You know, we all need these strategies for self-motivation. So he offers us 6 motivational strategies, and the first one he has here is break large goals down into smaller goals that are more attainable. And I was wondering if you've ever implemented this kind of, I'm going to call this goal hierarchy here, breaking them down into smaller goals. If you've ever implemented that, and what sort of difference did it make in your work or perhaps your clients' work?
You know, I think this is pretty much how I start every thought process or every brainstorming session as I'm going into a new idea or a new strategy that I would like to implement. I definitely break things down into smaller goals. But I like the number 3, so I tend to always break things down into 3s. What I'll do is I'll start first with my primary goals. What are my 3 primary goals? And then each of those primary goals, I challenge myself to break those down into 3 smaller sort of sub goals. I will even go into each sub goal and challenge myself to create 3 sub goals.
So you're always sticking with the 3 in that.
Yeah, I am, because I learned somewhere in the art of storytelling that things always work best in 3s. You have a beginning, middle, and end. It's a complete thought. It challenges you to make sure that you're thinking of all sides. And it really, I don't think anything is ever as simple as one goal.
Right.
It's just, it helps me to focus things in a way that, if I can complete the first goal, then guess what? I just got two more to go. And if I can complete the second one, oh my goodness, I'm almost done. So
almost home free.
So I love that process. But
yeah. So it's like it keeps you from getting overwhelmed by it all.
It does. And it keeps everything, I think, in perspective. I'm always able to fully grasp, whatever it is that needs to happen in order for me to achieve a particular goal. So yeah, I do create a goal hierarchy, and has it made a difference in my work? Well, the answer is absolutely 100% yes. It absolutely has. It just keeps me, I guess if I were to sum it up, like you said, it just keeps me from being overwhelmed, keeps me on target.
Yes. And now when clients come to you, do most clients you encounter, do they come in strictly focused on the big goal, or do you see them coming in already prepared to break it down into smaller goals, or is this something that you need to encourage them to do in the process?
Yeah, wow. People do begin their journey with us at Blue Artists, with me in particular, at different places. So more often than not, someone might begin their journey with me by saying, look, I want a website. Right. And so I'll say, okay, that's great. But why do you want a website? And what is the function of the website? What is the purpose? And so I'm challenging them to think about more than just what is the purpose, why have a website? But then on top of that, what kinds of things need to happen before a website gets created? What kinds of things need to happen after a website gets created? So I'm challenging them to sort of fly up high and look down at where that website fits into the big picture, and think about the things that need to happen before that website launches, and then what needs to happen after that website launches. And so that's usually, I would say more often than not, that's usually what ends up happening. But every now and again, I do have the privilege of working with a client who comes to me with simply a big picture. They might say, look, Pierre, I want to be a consultant. And it's my job to help them drill down on what that actually means. How do we break down this macro goal into 3 primary goals and then sub goals so that we can develop an action plan?
Right. And, I think all of us sort of feel this way in some sense, that big goal, that final end product that we're going for, it's much more exciting and romantic in some sense to focus on that than it is to focus on all the little sub goals that we need to go through to get there. And
Yeah. That's absolutely right. And I think at a certain level that's okay, actually. Because sometimes it's okay to just be the person with the big picture goal, and let your team members sort of dig deeper and develop the sub goals and then execute on those sub goals. And now it does depend on your personality type. Something that I'm really excited about that we're working on at Blue Artists, that it's not available just yet, but it's something that will be available very soon, is we want to make it easier for our clients to work with us in that capacity. So for example, if someone says, what, I'm a big picture thinker, and my big picture is that I want to be a consultant, and I want you guys, I want the team at Blue Artist to go ahead and dig deep for me, figure out the sub goals, figure out the tasks that need to be completed, what are the assets that need to be developed, and then just move forward and create those things. Because at the end of the day, I just want to meet my end game. And so for clients like that, we want to make it easier by allowing them to choose a protocol that gives us as a team more autonomy to work directly towards their end game without, them needing to be involved in all the little details. Now, that's not going to be great for everybody. Certainly there are a lot of people who want to be involved in the details, and that's fine too. And we want to make that possible as well. So this is something that is coming. We are developing some systems in DevLab to make it easier for clients to kind of decide how they want to handle a particular goal or a particular project, whether they want it to be autonomous or whether they want it to be more collaborative. So, things like that are coming, but it's just an example of what we're noticing in how people like to work and how they like to move forward with achieving whatever it is that their goal is.
Right. Excellent. Number 2, determine, realize, and respect your limits. He mentions about self-awareness here, and I think most of us do a pretty bad job of being self-aware. I know I struggle with that sometimes too. And one of the things that also stood out to me in this strategy here was this idea of burnout. And this had me thinking, reading this, with all the technology we have, with basically our work is seconds away at our fingertips. I know people who literally never stop working because even though they're not physically at the job site, or maybe they work from home and they're constantly checking their work emails, for example, all the time. I could say I'm guilty as charged in that sense. And I was wondering, do you see this market today as almost encouraging this kind of burnout? Because, it's like we're getting two competing messages. The way our technology and our social media is driving us to constantly work all the time. But we're hearing these strategies from articles like Matthews and other sources saying, we need to pace ourselves and whatnot. So do you see this as an issue? Do you see your clients struggle with this and finding that proper balance?
Yeah, this is definitely an issue. This is probably a surprisingly deep issue because we're only human.
Right.
We are not machines, but the way that we have sort of structured our go-get-em attitude, our go-get-em approach, especially as it relates to entrepreneurship and running a small business, is very much like you're a robot. I mean, there are tools upon tools upon tools that are available to us to help us, quote unquote, increase our efficiency, etc. But at the end of the day, it's just like a constant barrage of answering and responding to emails, onboarding new clients, searching for leads. I mean, it's just constant, and it seems to be never ending. So to your point, or to your question, yes, it is so important that we sort of understand what our limits are. And I would say that the most important thing that we need to do is understand the value of teamwork and understand the role of how teamwork can not only increase our individual productivity, but make it possible for us to achieve so much more without the burnout. But of course, it's not easy to develop teamwork. It's not easy to find a team to help you achieve the many, many, many things that you want to achieve. And so that is difficult. And I fully admit, there was definitely a time where our team was much, much, much smaller. In fact, I would say there was a time many years ago when it was just me and maybe, my absolute core group. And my goodness, were we just taking on way too much than we can handle. But we had to learn how to expand, and we had to learn how to to develop other team members in such a way that they fit and they complemented the vision. And I think at the end of the day, where we are now, well, maybe not completely where we are now, but where we would like to be, where I would like to be, is I really would like to be able to just only focus on the things that I really can excel at. And only spend time on those things that's reasonable and makes sense, so that I'm giving myself the rest, the balance that I need in order to properly function and be able to give 110% when I'm ready to give that 110%. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And earlier on, you mentioned about building a team. And so that kind of ties into the strategy number 4. So I'm just going to jump to that real quick. We'll come back to number 3. When you mentioned about building a team, I thought about strategy number 4, which is get help when you need it. And the first question that came to my mind on that was, why are we so bad at asking for help?
Oh my goodness. Oh boy. Do you want me to go ahead and jump in on that, or is there more?
Feel free to, because I think that one question alone can cover quite a lot of.
Yeah, that feels like a whole episode, right?
Right.
I'll try to keep my answer real. I'll try my best to keep it succinct. We are bad at asking for help because we want to maintain control.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that, the idea of maintaining control is really a safety mechanism. It's a safety mechanism that we believe will help us to be successful. We don't want to risk not being successful, or better said, we don't want to risk not achieving our goal. And the moment you start relying on someone else or delegating to someone else, you're taking something off of your plate and putting it onto someone else's plate, and they have to perform, and you're trusting them to perform. And if they don't perform, then that impacts you, and that takes away from your ability to achieve your goal, or so we would think.
Yeah.
Or so we would think. That's the delusion. I actually want to say that's the delusion. Because in reality, control is a handicap. It actually it does way more harm to us than good.
And help can come in all different forms. Even Sir Dyson had help, relying in part on the financial support of his wife's salary as an art teacher.
Well, I sorry to interject.
Mm-hmm.
I think the control can be a handicap, like you're saying. I think the way to offset that is to have proper communication.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be from my experience anyway.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with that. But communication about what would be the thing. And so what I would say is, it is important to have the vision as the leader, or as the person who is sort of instigating everything. It is important to maintain that vision, but it's also important to know that vision is and must be modular. It must be. Vision has to be something that others can contribute to and attach their own vision to. So you want to have a vision, or you want to have a goal that's so specific that other people can see it, but that's also modular enough that other people can attach their own visions to your vision. And in doing so, you get a sort of shared vision. And that is a good thing. That actually helps you to grow and to become way more successful than you ever could be. And it helps prevent self-sabotage. Because now when you start to lose faith, or when you start to go into a dark place where you're getting discouraged, you have other people who have attached their vision to yours and believe in it and can help bring you up.
Right.
I want to say that it is important to have, I think, a reasonable amount of control. Control in the sense, and this is where I would exercise it, control in the sense of determining who you work with. But then once you make that decision, then it's important to let go. It's important to trust your instincts that you have selected the right people, and allow them to do their job. Allow them to bring to the table ideas that they are passionate about that help to uplift your idea. And then, you know what? If you find in the long term that someone is really just not a good fit, then replace them. I mean, it's really not that difficult, but just replace them. But if you operate in this manner, you will be a true leader. And a true leader is someone that can get things done reliably and can get things done at a beyond expectations is what I would say.
Right, definitely. Let's see. So we're going to be jumping back to strategy number 3 here, which is focus and remove all distractions. Easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, what are some of the most common distractions you hear from a client? And what are some of the most common distractions you yourself have to deal with when you're trying to get work done?
Well, when it comes to clients, the most common distraction is almost always just their 9-to-5 job, whatever it is that they need to do to keep income coming in as they're building their own brand.
Right.
So I say that as the 9-to-5 job, but it could also just be, you know, whatever the day-to-day grind is that they need to do in order to, you know, keep things moving. And I say that as that can be a distraction because many times, you know, you want to be working on your business, not in your business. And sometimes, you know, sometimes it can be so much easier to get lost in the work that's happening in your business that you get distracted from the work that you need to be doing on your business. And that is something that I struggle with. That's something that I am challenged with every single day. There is so much happening inside this organization called Blue Artists, and there's so much happening inside with all of our different clients, all of their different projects, all of the different deadlines, all of the different expectations and strategies and planning, that I, as a leader, can sometimes get distracted from the fact that I also have to make sure or ensure that I am working on the business of Blue Artists, on the health of the business, on the innovations that we need as a business in order to continue to meet and exceed the expectations of our clients. So I would say working in the business can be the most common distraction for a client and for myself.
Now, do you have any kind of thing that you do to keep your focus and stay away from those distractions?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So the first thing that comes to mind is my walks. I try to take a walk every day. I try. I'm not always successful with that, but I do try to basically, and for some people that might be jogging or going to the gym. For me, it's walking. You know, that fits what I'm capable of doing. But I do try to basically step away and give myself a moment to just be and just, you know, take the hat off for just a second.
Right.
I try to do that, and it does energize me because when I can let myself just sort of release myself from the responsibility of my position, then suddenly I'm, you know, as I sort of relax my mind, suddenly ideas kind of flood in. And these ideas might be solutions to problems or challenges that I had been struggling with either earlier in the day or earlier in the week or in the month. So it's important to take time to just step away so that your mind can release the focus that you had been spending so much on particular tasks, and then just sort of allow solutions to kind of float up to the surface for things that you might have been, you know, big picture things that you might have been dealing with. So for me, that I would say that is a ritual or something I do try to do on a regular basis. That's a good question. How about you?
Well, actually, almost pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
I will step away, and I've often gone out for a walk, maybe just around the block, but that does really help, I think, in a lot of ways. There's something about, for me anyway, about being mobile, moving, generates ideas. I remember growing up, I mean, I've had a creative mind as long as I can remember. And growing up, I would sometimes just walk endlessly in circles around the living room couch, just coming up with ideas, whether it's a movie in my head or a new song or I don't know what. But I could be running that circle around the couch for an hour, And there's something about moving that just generates those ideas. I don't know why.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I totally see it. And now that we're much older, for me, that metaphorical circle would be my neighborhood or the block in the city where I live, and I'll just loop that, just ad nauseum until I, feel that I've had sufficient rest. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Being mobile, there is something to that, and how it allows your mind to kind of float and ideas to just kind of flutter in. I have the image that I have in my head is kind of like your mind is being sort of like a greenhouse, with plants and things inside. And when you take a break away from your work and you go out and you begin walking, what you're doing is you're generating sunlight, and that sunlight is peeking into the greenhouse, and it's causing all of the plants and everything inside that greenhouse to suddenly rejuvenate. And then things start living again, and butterflies start floating around, and birds and things, so that's how I see it.
Yeah, that's an excellent analogy. And a more crude example, it makes me think of that person who is powering the magical device behind a curtain, but he's just pedaling on the bicycle really fast.
Right.
That's so true. So I like your version a little better. So the number 5 on our strategy list, and this kind of ties into what we were talking about a second ago. Number 5, do something that energizes you. And you mentioned about taking the walk, stepping away. Is there anything else that you would say you use as an energizer? For example, for me, sometimes it can just be a song that really gets me going, or I've just come out of a movie that just really gets me all revved up and excited. Is there anything that energizes you?
Well, okay, so the answer is a resounding yes, there is. And for me, it's acting. Acting. I love the sort of playground of acting because I love my imagination.
Yes.
I love my imagination. And when I'm acting in that world of just imaginary circumstances and stuff, I'm free to just allow my imagination to take me wherever it is I need to go in order to achieve what it is that we're doing, whether it's a film or a play. And I don't get to do it as often as I would like. I wish that acting was just all I did. Honestly, I do wish that sometimes, but it isn't. But it is something that I can do, once in a while, maybe a few times a year. But my goodness, it exhausts me. I'll tell you that. It definitely exhausts me to be in a play or in a film, but it also energizes me. It energizes me creatively. It sort of kickstarts my imagination. It reminds me that anything is possible. Sometimes I forget that when I'm looking at numbers all day, or when I'm, looking at, analytics all day, I can forget that anything is possible. But
Absolutely.
Acting, that really, it just puts me back into a framework where, Pierre, anything you can imagine, anything that you can dream up, there is a solution to the challenges that you face. And the solution, all you have to do is just dream it up.
Right. And it's a great way to have a kind of an escape. strategy number 6, which is make sure that you stay on schedule. And I would imagine, for example, taking naps, getting that rest in is one thing that's going to help you or anyone in this case to kind of stay on a schedule. Would you agree to that?
I would. I want to say that it's really important to. I can't believe I'm saying this because I do such a bad job at it, but it's really important to treat yourself like a human being, like a person, not like a machine. And you gotta take a break. You gotta, treat yourself to a nap. You gotta do what it takes to keep your mind sort of in that optimal place, which is, a little bit of stress, to give you motivation, to give you something to work towards, but a sense of relaxation so that you can be operating in a sort of a state of flow, as opposed to a state of anxiety or exhaustion, things like that.
Right.
And so, a naps for me, it's important. I try to get it in if I can. I just try to, and it reminds me when I can take a nap, and my insistence on taking a nap is just a reminder to myself and to my body that I'm a human. And I did work hard and apply myself for the first half of the day, and now I need a little break. And then I'm going to do the same thing, hopefully, for the next half of the day. And I just think, that to me, that's sustainable.
And now, do you sort of set certain, in terms of scheduling your work, do you set certain parameters? Say, for example, okay, I'm going to work every 2 hours and take a 15-minute break, or depends on what the project would be. I'm going to work, if it's like for me, for example, on audio work, after about 2 hours of straight audio work, my ears start to go, and I have to step away or my judgment gets muddied.
That makes sense.
So,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think,
so
go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just going to ask if you have something like that you kind of implement to keep on the schedule, on task and whatnot.
Well, as far as deep concentration, I can only really commit 1 hour to any particular thing. After about an hour, I simply must take a break and then get back to a state of flow so that I can re-engage. So like, if you're ever in a long meeting with me, after, and probably a lot of clients can definitely attest to this, is after about an hour, that's when, I'm at a place where I'm like, okay, information overload. Or I'll say something like, all right, look, I've reached my capacity for this meeting. We're going to take a break and come back. And I'm not afraid to say that. I used to be. I think when I was much younger, I was like, no, I need to power through, But I learned that that's just really not effective. So once I feel myself slipping, I just say it and, put it out there. And then if we need to reschedule, we need to reschedule. But that's how I can give the best, to my clients. But I will say this, in terms of what's on my calendar, every day, lunch at 12 noon until 1 p.m. every day. That's on the calendar. That's blocked out. Now, do I always eat lunch during that time? No. But I'm at the very least not working.
Mine is about, I have my 3:00 midday coffee break.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, it might one day might end up being like 2:45 but there's that kind of 2-ish, 3 o'clock-ish part of the day where I typically will have coffee break. Cause if, I might have 2 songs, 2 or 3 podcasts all overlapping at the same time, and so by that middle of the day, you gotta, I need that cup of Joe. So,
it's good to know what you need.
yeah, definitely. I might be more self-aware than I thought.
Yeah. But that's good. That's really good.
Yeah. So this number 6 strategy we're on right now about staying on a schedule, Matthew talks here about SMART goals.
Sir Dyson had goals, but not just any goals. SMART goals. Well, what are SMART goals? Bass's article defines SMART goals as goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely.
And I was looking that up and I saw this word that stood out to me was being very specific with your goals. And Like, for example, I think the example he gave was about wanting to lose weight. And rather than saying, I'm going to lose weight this summer, we're going to make a goal of I'm going to lose weight by August 1st, 2018,
Mm-hmm.
And is there something about the specificity there that is going to ensure that we reach that goal all the more?
Yeah, well, the answer is yes, absolutely. I don't really think you can achieve, or communicate anything unless you are being specific.
Mm.
I am often, a large part of my job when I am engaging with clients is helping a client to develop a specific vision. So if they come to me and their vision is macro, then my job is to help specify that, help them dig deep and get specific.
Right.
And if they come to me and their task is too micro, like for example, earlier I said, if a client simply says, I want a website, I try to help them to develop and become specific by understanding where that asset of a website fits into the grand scheme of developing a brand. So I'm helping them to develop a larger vision, but in that larger vision, it helps them to be more specific with the goals related to that specific task of developing the website. So I do think specificity, being specific is incredibly, incredibly important because, details matter and they get lost in broad or vague goals. And the problem with a broad or vague goal is it really a goal at that point? Because it really just sounds like a dream. And I think a goal, I think actually there's a quote. I'm not sure. I don't remember the exact quote, but there's something that says to the degree that a goal is a dream with a deadline.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's a flowery way of putting it, but certainly getting specific to the degree that an idea or a goal has steps that need to be achieved, that can be delegated, and that need to be done by a certain time, help something to be attainable. And once something is attainable, then you can really start planning. And in planning, you can make sure that it's relevant. You can make sure that it gets achieved. You can make sure that that you don't get you don't sabotage yourself by being overwhelmed. When you're running a big company or if you're involved in a big project, I would say, for example, like if you're an actor in a large movie. Okay, actually, you know what? Let me take that back. If you're an actor in anything, a movie or a play, and you have this whole script. Oh my goodness, this is a great example. You've got this whole script and you've got all these lines that you need to learn. My goodness, if you look at a Shakespeare script, those things are just packed with words.
Definitely.
And you look at that and you think, oh my gosh, I have to learn all of this and I have to perform all of this. Well, the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. And so when you can break that overall goal of, okay, I need to learn this role, you can break that overall goal into, okay, today I'm going to learn everything on this page. And then tomorrow I'm going to review everything I learned on this page. And then the day after tomorrow, I'm going to begin listening to the next page. And then the day after that, I'm going to learn the next page. So just, sort of methodically plotting out the path for attaining that goal, I think is really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also that goals can change. They can morph into different goals, and the specifics can change. Everything's very malleable, or it's probably needs to be in some ways.
Oh my goodness, John, let me tell you something. I reserve the right to change my mind.
Yeah.
I say that. I remind myself of that. And I always remind others of that as well, that they reserve the right to change their mind as well. So it's important to give yourself that flexibility that, you know what, if you're heading in in a direction, you begin to discover that this is not the right direction for you, then, or for the goal or whatever, you make a change, because it's so much better to course correct and move forward in the right direction than it is to commit to what is the wrong direction.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of a more of a life lesson type thing, but definitely as it relates to goals, that's definitely important as well. Giving yourself the freedom to take a step back and say, okay, you know what, this goal is no longer relevant for me, or this particular task has changed, or in order for me to achieve this goal that I want to achieve, I have to change some of these tasks because the world has changed, or infrastructure has changed, or just things have changed. I need to up, what I mean? So that's important. It really is.
Right, and those are things that are out of our control up to a point.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's right. That's absolutely right. Great point. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So here we are talking about motivation, and this last question here is going to tie in really well to us having talked about acting before, because I wanted to ask you, like, as someone who watches a lot of movies, of course, there's been tons of movies over the decades that will have that character who's got to battle the odds, whether it's trying to land that top job or fight off an army invading or who knows what. And they have that insurmountable goal, and they have to somehow stay motivated. And most of these films will incorporate some type of theme song. And of course, the first one that comes to mind is going to be Rocky, right? Now, so if your life were made into a movie, what would your theme song be?
Okay, I have a question for you, John. Does does the theme song need to be something? I mean, does it need to be something that's mainstream?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so I have the answer for you. It's not mainstream. It's not a mainstream song, but the song is called "Given It All" by Bonnie Tyler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. To you.
Yeah.
That song, for me, it gives me life. It gives me energy in it, and I wanna when I look at my life, I really want to know that I've given it all, that I've done everything that I could do,
right.
That I had the ability to do to achieve my goals and to leave the world, I think, in a better place. And so, given it all, it's a testament to that. I love that song. That song, like I said, it gives me energy and it gives me life, and it helps me to know that this is a journey that I'm on, and I may fall, I may fail, I may make, bad choices, but it's all in the service of me applying myself and giving everything that I can to a goal and to a vision.
Let's be honest. Losing motivation is like a death sentence for creativity and productivity. So it's important we counter these struggles early on with some effective motivational strategies, like the ones presented here. They're what keep us going when all the odds seem against us. In the article, Matthew writes, "Success is almost always achieved through purposeful action. Taking action and staying motivated are the most important pieces of the entire success puzzle." Once again, the article we've been discussing is 6 Ways to Increase Your Self-Motivation by Matthew Bass, published on successgroove.com. And what about you? Do you struggle with motivation? And if so, what strategies do you use to keep you going? Feel free to share them with us at www.facebook.com/Blue Artists. We'd love to hear from you. I'm John Marble, and this has been Build Your Difference.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Your Difference. If you'd like to learn more about how Blue Artists can help you develop a distinguished brand that inspires and engages a growing audience, then please visit us at www.blue-artist.com and be sure and subscribe to our monthly podcast for the latest tips and trends in brand development and marketing. And remember, you're not just making a brand, you're making a difference. Start building yours today